Okay, so I've been to the shop, I've bought my bits, I mostly got everything that I could. So now you can see I've made this bit of 22, which going straight into the expansion tank. Again, it's not under pressure, so not too worried about that being a solder joint. So that was kind of fairly straightforward. In terms of filling loops, what I've done here, the return for the filling, I've basically just got a normal flexi hose. This one happens to have a 15mm on the end of it, but it doesn't really matter too much. And then again, for now, I'm just going to leave it in there because it's just going to go back into the tank when we're purging. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a flexi hose that has a 3/4 fitting on both ends. So what I've done here is I had an old tap connector in the garage, which I've put onto the fitting down here. That's just an ordinary bit of garden hose. And this is one of the tap connectors that was stored in here. Unfortunately, because of the rubber washer on there, this one doesn't fit on this end, which might be a bit neater, but kind of doesn't really matter. Again, there's no pressure in here, it's just going to be fluid when the system's filling. I'll see how that kink does, but I'm going to have to get rid of that. And then I've started putting in my pipe work. So again, got some just couplings here, 3/4 female to 15, 3/4 male in both ends of that to 15. You can see that's kind of all along there, down there, and then down on the floor. Because I'm still not sure about having a drain valve, all I've done for now is put an old 15T with a stop end coming off the end, so at least I've got a place to drain it from. Not that I'm expecting it to need to drain, hopefully. And then this thing's a bit of a pig on these Navitron cylinders because it's really just a compression fitting. It doesn't feel really very strong. There's a little bit of movement on it and stuff, so just got to be a bit careful with those. Most of the other ones I've done here in 22 and 28 have needed quite a lot of fiddling around once I've turned the water on, so I'm going to have to check that out. Now, one of the things that you've possibly noticed is there aren't any pipe clips on here, and that's partly because this pipe is going to have some of this insulation, which I'll show you down here. This is the high temperature insulation. It looks like normal stuff, but it's very, very flexible, which is nice. And so, of course, when the pipe's covered in this stuff, you can't really use standard pipe clips. What I've done on the other pipes is I've obviously just left a space where I've got a pipe clip, but we don't really want to do that on these really high temperature pipes anyway, partly because plastic clips might melt and partly because all those little gaps are heat loss. So my plan is, and I nearly got to try it out now, was to buy some of these things, just basically waste pipe clips, cheap as chips, and then the idea is I'm going to actually clip over the insulation and the 15mm pipe once it's in place. Couple of problems, I bought 15mm ones instead of 40mm ones, so I'm going to need to take those back and swap them for some others, which is fine. And the other thing is, it means I can't put the insulation on, and therefore I can't put the clips on until after I filled the system, pressurised it up and made sure that none of these bits are leaking. But again, not the end of the world, just means I need to be a little bit careful that I don't knock these pipes, but it shouldn't be a problem because they are kind of out of the way right next to the wall. Now, in terms of the, make sure you get the flow and return around the right way. Basically, it kind of doesn't really matter in one sense. The issue is that the return is obviously much cooler than the flow, and so all of the control equipment, the pump and everything, is all on the return pipe. So the return is the bottom of the coil, which is the coolest part. If you put it on the flow, then your pump's going to run hot, all kinds of issues like that. So basically that needs to be on the return really. The flexi pipes up to the collector are going to go into the top there, and the only other pipe that's missing is the top of the coil, the flow. And I think what I'm going to probably do, now I've seen what it looks like, is I'm probably going to run some more 15 copper really in parallel with that pipe across the wall, and then there's a space to run it up here between the tank and the pump station. And what that will then do is give me two pipe fittings that are very close to each other to connect onto the flexible pipes. In fact, I could probably run it down that side instead, so it's completely out of the way, and that just makes it easier rather than kind of splitting the flexi pipe and then trying to cut one shorter than the other and all that kind of stuff. I think it would just be easier and neater if I terminate them both at the same place. So I might need another little bit of 15mm, but my brother's got a load at home which I'm going to go and rob again, and then once I've got that in with another couple of elbows, then I'll be ready to connect in those two pipes that are going to come down from the loft, which I haven't done yet, but I need to make a hole, obviously bring them down and then connect those in. Once I've done that, then I'm almost ready to start thinking about getting a scaffold tower in to get the main collector up. I've been tightening all of these as I've been going along. So I found with compression fittings, they rarely leak badly like some of my solder joints do, but sometimes they weep just a little bit, and then usually after a while they either block themselves up, or you just obviously have to tweak them up a little bit with a Stilson's or a adjustable wrench or parrot nose pliers or whatever your poison is. So hopefully soon the next thing you'll see, I'll be done in here, with all of the kind of naked pipes ready to connect up in the loft. And then obviously once I've done that, I need to get the collector on, get the system all pressurized, and then see where we go from there.